now something completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hair loss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to The Bald Truth. Phone number 888-659-3727. Great to be here on another Tuesday night doing The Bald Show. Welcome if you are new and don't know who I am or why I'm here. Sometimes I don't know why the F I'm here. But I am a consumer advocate for men and women suffering with hair loss. I'm the author of The Bald Truth and The Truth About Women's Hair Loss. I'm the founder of the American Hair Loss Association. And I'm a guy who started a career based on, or basically because of my Achilles heel. Because I started to lose my hair at the tender age of around 21 years old. And, you know, when I first started noticing my hair loss, I was in a fucking panic. I had no clue that it was coming. Didn't realize that hair loss ran in my family because my father was able to hide his hair loss because he maintained a pretty decent hairline for most of his life. And he had a bald spot. And I never really put two and two together. I figured, you know, he was an older guy. You know, his hair's a little thin on top, but he always looked like he had a full head of hair because of the way he was able to comb his hair. So for me, it was a shock. I had no idea it was coming. So I took it very hard. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to turn. You know, when I started to lose my hair, it was like back in 1987, or noticed that I was losing my hair. It was the dark ages when it came to hair loss treatments of any kind. And it was horrible. And I fell for every scam. I fell for every, you know, product and service, every, you know, offering that I saw in newspapers, every advertisement. At the time, they were advertising a lot of hair loss products on television. I did it all. I bought it all. Excuse me. My voice is cracking like I'm a teenage boy. And I fell for it all. And at a certain point, I decided, you know what? I have to somehow take control of this situation and do my own research. Back in the day, you guys have to understand that the internet was in its infancy. There was really nothing out there. Very difficult to research hair loss. Everything that was out there was self-promoting bullshit. I would find some articles at the library. I did find some stuff online, but I personally didn't really get online until about 1995. So in order for me to get online, I would have to go to, and at the time there were very few of them, like an online cafe. I had one buddy that had like a Mac SE with internet access, but there was really, really, really nothing out there. So I do what I do now because I am one of you. I'm a hair loss sufferer who's been dealing with this for a very, very, very long time. And when I started, there was no objective information about this crazy industry. And I was lucky enough, after a tremendous amount of research, to stop or slow the progression of my hair loss using FDA-approved medication. And I decided to write a book about my journey and about this crazy industry. Now realize, my first book was published back in 1998, so there was, again, absolutely nothing. And over the years, as the internet evolved, obviously there's a tremendous wealth of information online. But sadly, because we are still so vulnerable as hair loss sufferers, because no matter how much we evolve, the feeling that we deal with, the feelings that we deal with as hair loss sufferers don't change. No matter how much information is out there online, we are still desperate. We will buy anything, try anything, subscribe to anything just for some hope. The reason I've been here doing this broadcast for 14 years is just for that very reason. You go on to get information online, and there's, like I said, some great places, but I got to tell you, man, there's so much misinformation on the internet, so much bullshit being put out there and perpetuated by non-professionals, by professionals trying to sell some bullshit to you, by, people who believe that they somehow found a cure for hair loss and they're deciding to write an ebook about it, and they're trying to sell it to you. There's people on my very message forum and on other message forums who truly believe that because they've done their online research and what they consider their due diligence, that they know what the fuck they're talking about. And they're giving people advice that in the long run will probably not help them. So we created this safe place a long time ago to try to give you guys some balance, to try to give you guys truly objective information and help you to make sense of all the craziness that's out there in this hair loss industry, in this world of hair loss. Andrew, yes, I am recording. Let me give out the phone number, 888-659-3727. Now, you know what? My opinions aren't always, something, things that, ideas or opinions that people agree with. And a lot of the times, sadly, the guys that are out there who may disagree with me or don't really understand or have true insight of what's happening in this field, they're very passionate. They're definitely very passionate. But I want you guys to take whatever you read on the internet, please take it with a grain of salt. Understand that if certain products and certain treatments were as effective as people claim, if certain treatments that you're buying on online pharmacies were actually helping as many hair loss sufferers as claimed on the internet, believe me, less people would be dealing with hair loss, and we'd be talking about these products and services on this broadcast. 888-659-3727. So I want you guys to feel free to call in, talk about anything and everything hair loss, ask your questions, share your experiences, understand that you are not alone in this journey. Maybe you guys can teach me something. I don't know everything, and I say that all the time. There's some great guys that call in that provide so much great information on stuff that, frankly, at this stage of my career and how busy I am, it's difficult for me to do the day in and day out research that I was once able to do. That's why we have regular callers like Joe from Staten Island who call in and provide us with, his information, his updates, which we really appreciate. And I don't know if Joe got in on line one, but I'm going to take line one and see who this is. Hey, you're on the air.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm in a very, depressed mood tonight. I'm going to have to castigate. I mean this affectionately and not in a mean way. Certain members of our community, young hair loss sufferers. You cats are always complaining how much you suffer. I understand that, but don't you guys get it? The next couple of years, you may not have a cure, but you're going to have an effective treatment. You'll still be young enough to enjoy it. Yeah, I'll have a cure too, an effective treatment, but I'm a 55-year-old man. My youth is gone forever. You cats still have your youth. You've a lot to look forward to. So don't bitch so much, guys. Just get the deal, please.
My name is Joe from Staten Island.
Excuse me.
Would you like me to reiterate it? Have you heard it? Excuse me.
My name is Joe from Staten Island.
Hey, Joe, I think that was a great sentiment. I think that you are absolutely right. I think that the young guys out there that are crying the way that they're crying, especially the guys online, they have no idea what it was like when we were young. And there was really very little hope. I was so lucky that I caught things at a point where finasteride was approved. You know, finasteride, it was basically approved in 1992 for benign prostate hyperplasia. I read about it around that time, a little later than that, and then I started, I think, in 94. And, you know, I was, at the time, I guess it was kind of brave. A lot of guys weren't really taking it. I found a doctor willing to prescribe it, even though everyone was, you know, the doctors that I was buying my bullshit products from were saying that it was going to basically turn me into a woman. I shouldn't take the chance. We don't know what the long-term adverse side effects, because a lot of the drugs that were treating, that were used to treat benign prostate hyperplasia before Proscar had a lot of severe adverse side effects, immediate side effects. I was willing to take that chance, and you know what? At least until this point, it's paid off for me. I was very, very lucky that it did pay off. But that's all. That was it, man. That was like you know, a pioneering excuse me, move in a sense, because no one was using it. No one was really talking about it. No one was writing about it. The information wasn't out there on the internet. So what the kids have today, they have so much. Listen, I understand now they're shit scared to take finasteride, and frankly, you know what? I don't blame them. With all the information that's out there and being circulated online, and all of the scary stories, you know, even though we know it's a much smaller percentage, that at least in my view and clinically, than what's, you know, the way it's being presented, but they still have options readily available to them.
Well, Spencer, all due respect, I think you're misunderstanding the point I'm trying to make. With all due respect.
All right, Joe, explain it to me, and I'll tell you if I am misunderstanding it.
Well, first of all, let me just tell you, back in the 1970s, early 80s, I was chemically castrated by a famous doctor whose name I don't rather not mention.
Why not?
With estrogen pills, the great Dr. Norman Orangereich, estrogen pills, spirulactone. I was virtually, you know, transformed into a female, and my hair kept falling out. So in my case.
Now, when you say you were transformed to female, did you actually have, did you have a lower libido? Were you unable to get an erection? Did you actually start to grow breasts?
No, I had absolutely no libido whatsoever.
So your libido was gone?
Gone, completely. Couldn't even masturbate. That was pretty hard for me, because I love masturbation.
Yes, that could be difficult. I could see that.
Yes, it was great, but my head kept falling out even faster, to be honest with you.
It wasn't working for you.
Testosterone, injections, not at all. I was chemically castrated, as the doctor put it. You know what it did for me? Not a goddamn thing. Cost you thousands of dollars. So in my case, I guess I'm one, shall we say, a non-responder. So this is the point I'm really trying to make, all due respect to you. I know you're the leading hair loss expert in the world. What I'm trying to say is these cats online are complaining. But don't they realize, well, I have a lot of breaking news tonight, as you can imagine. Within the next 2 to 3 years, there'll be something on the market that can really help these guys out. And they'll still have the youth. I mean, it's really effective.
So I think we're on the same wavelength. Maybe I didn't mention the fact that they're still going to have their youth.
For years, they will have something that really works. Not stuff that, it's just something that really, really works. So it'll grow significant amounts of hair.
Right.
Well, you see the point I'm trying to make?
I do.
And they will still have the youth. But a cat like me, I'll have more hair, sure, but my youth is gone forever. And no doctor in the world can give that back to me.
And you basically, and also saying that, you know, why are they wasting their youth, their time right now on complaining and whining and suffering when they are going to be able to still enjoy hair possibly and have their youth. Is that what you're trying to say?
I wouldn't say possibly. I would really say definitely. And they would still have their youth. Where a cat like me, I'll have a beautiful head of hair, and I'll be an old fucking man, like I am now.
But Joe, maybe if you, first of all, you're not that old. Maybe if you started to take care of yourself now, you could enjoy that full head of hair.
Well, I'll still be a guy, 56, 57 by then, 58 possibly, approaching Social Security. But these cats will still be in the late 20s, early 30s, and they're bitching. They really, I don't mean these, and some of the guys on the forums are, I don't mean to disrespect them, but it really upsets me when I see these things. Guys, wake up. A cure is on the horizon. Effective treatment. You'll be able to enjoy it. I'll have plenty of hair, but I'll still be a fucking old man. I'm sorry, you guys, but I'm really a little bit buzzed tonight. As you probably know, Spencer.
Well, it's okay, Joe. And like
and
I
by
said,
the way, guys, Billy, you get Social Security at 62, dude, not 67, man. Now, I'm sorry.
And I'm sorry if I seem preoccupied. Andrew is basically talking in my ear, telling me to raise my Skype volume so that the sound is a little louder. To him, I'm trying to do that while I'm listening to you and answering your questions and responding to your, to what you're saying. So just bear with me.
But you see my point. I mean, we had not, in our youth, we had nothing to look forward to. But these cats, there's so much going on, especially the breaking news of yesterday. Which I've been exhausted. I've been up all night, working on this report for today with the breaking worldwide news, which you all know about. I mean, I'm sure we all know about that, unless you live in a cave.
Well, let's talk about it.
Well, of course, it is. Well, several things. First of all, our good friend, Dr. George Costarellis, of course, is all over the front page of all the newspapers in the world. Again, he is now stating that, I'm not saying it's true or false, so my tracks will not attack me tomorrow morning. He is stating that he is now in talks with pharmaceutical
companies. Yeah.
Yes, as you can see, I'm an influence of alcohol and antipsychotics.
I kind of wish I was, but go ahead.
Whoa. Okay. Within 2 years, he's predicting hair loss will be cured. He is stating that he's in negotiations now with top pharmaceutical companies that he will not name using already FDA-approved drugs, which are used for the treatment of allergies and asthma, which are PGD2 receptors, which we already spoke about.
Right.
Which will be the market, according to him, so please don't attack me tomorrow, my detractors, this will be on the market within 2 years. This is a statement as of yesterday or Sunday. I've been so busy working on this, I'm not really sure exactly when it came out. I think it came out on the 20th.
It came out on the 20th.
Yes. I mean, it's worldwide news, as you probably know. And, Merck and all these other companies, I'm sure they're well aware of it. I mean, they're not commenting on it, of course, but I'm sure they're well aware of it.
Right. I mean, it was on Yahoo News. It was everywhere. And basically, the line is that or the headline is that a baldness cure could be for sale in just 2 years. You know what? I will tell you that Costarellis is the king of media as far as, getting media for himself, for his company, for, his university, and frankly for hair loss. And I think it's awesome. It would be incredible. I will believe it when I see it. How is that for just being, I don't mean to play devil's advocate, but the truth of the matter is, anytime you see a headline that says, could be available, might be available, there's a possibility something's going to be available, sadly, usually it doesn't come to fruition as soon as they claim.
Right.
You got to understand they're trying to grab headlines. They're trying to grab our attention. They're trying to grab the attention of, obviously all hair loss sufferers, and also these companies are trying to grab the attention of, future investors or their stockholders. There's a lot involved. You know that. I'm not saying that it's not going to happen, but I just don't want everyone to be overly excited. But the good news is there's more and more press about hair loss cures than ever before. There's more information being put out there by these companies because these companies are working towards this cure. It wasn't like this 10 years ago. We didn't have this.
We had nothing.
We had nothing. We had shit. You know, when finasteride came out, that was an incredible breakthrough. It changed so many lives for the better and obviously some lives for the worse. But I would say the vast majority of guys who use the drug have had pretty good success with it, you know, including myself. Sadly, again, a lot of young guys just refuse to try it. I certainly understand why they would refuse. That's their choice. However, I do believe that a lot more of the younger guys would be happier, you know, and, you know, you see the guys on the forum, some of the guys on the forum who kind of got their mind together and said, I'm going to give this a shot. And a lot of these guys have had success. I was reading the forum earlier, and there was one guy that came on that said, you know, he wished he would have done it earlier. But then there are the guys that take and have the side effects. So, it, you know, who knows? You know, Joe, but I don't know if this is going to happen in 2 years. I hope to God that it does. And I'm telling you, when it happens, you know, I mean, that's it. Lights go out. People are going to go on my website. It's going to have a big sign, gone fishing, motherfuckers. And I'm out of here.
Well, yeah, I have to do a few commercials first, though. You know that.
Well, I'm talking. Sure, I'll do commercials for these guys. Absolutely. I'll grow my bald spot back, man. Tighten up that part. Comb my hair back. You know, and I will do commercials for these companies from my compound in the Caribbean.
Well, do you think they'll be using me in some commercials?
I think you're going to have to clean up your act a little bit and, like, you know, get off the drugs. Then maybe we can figure something out.
No, of course. I'll be in the business student. I'll be in properly, you know, and no drugs at all. I'll be fine. Now, the second part of the news of the report is supposedly Adirond is entering phase 3 in certain of their J-Gami products, certain segments of their products that's been leaking out, which means technically by 2014 Adirond could be in the market. And I find it very coincidental that, like we said last week, several weeks ago, they picked up Hair Club, as you know. I mean, to me, in my analysis, the pieces are starting, you know, it's pretty obvious why they, in my opinion, why they bought Hair Club from it. They get ready to set up shop.
There is. And there's some rumors kind of floating around the industry that there's some issues about Adirond's forming a monopoly. Now, obviously, I don't know what the legal ramifications are, and I don't know if there are any. But they definitely are doing whatever they can. And listen, you can't blame them to completely control the entire market, basically take over the world as far as hair loss is concerned. That's you know, listen, I'm a capitalist, and you certainly have to respect that, especially if they're going to be offering people something good.
Well, they could take some of these hair transplant doctors, pay them a salary so much a year, and that will be their employment. I mean, that's probably how it would work. What do you think of? I mean, what do you think of?
The way these companies normally work is they kind of work on a percentage of sales. Doctors who are working for these large chain clinics basically get anywhere between 12 and, say, 17% of each procedure they perform. So that's why, I don't love that model, because that's why, in my view, the large chain clinics will, probably, there's a little more motivation for these doctors to get people in the chair who might not be candidates for surgery or for whatever procedure they may be performing in the future. I guess in the future it's not going to be as egregious, because if we have these cell-based solutions, then perhaps they're going to get to the point where there won't be any surgical intervention involved, which would be great. Younger patients can have, and people who are not as far in their hair loss progression could have these procedures performed. Terrific. But I just wanted to give you a little insight of the way the industry runs. They don't run on a salary basis. Everything is, in a sense, on a commission. They get a percentage of sales. So for everybody so if a doctor is able to get 3 surgeries performed a day, they're going to make more money. I actually think it would be better for the industry if the physicians were paid a straight salary. and whether they did 1 procedure a day or 3 procedures a day. You know, and maybe some sort of bonuses on extra procedures that, you know. But the problem with that is then it's still based on sales, so it's still kind of a screwed up situation.
Well, I mean, say Atorang is exclusively by injection. I mean, it'll transform the whole industry. It'll be a totally different industry. Do you agree with that analysis of mine?
It absolutely will be a different industry. I think in general it's going to be a better industry, and I think that there's still going to be a lot of questionable things happening in the field. But if they can consistently get these techniques, this type of technology to work for the vast majority of people who are, who are provided with these, this technology, then there's no doubt it's going to be better, because there's, guys are going to get a good result. There's going to be less chance of, potential downsides that all surgical hair restoration has, including FUE and other iterations of FUE and, obviously strip hair transplantation. So yeah, to answer your question, absolutely it'll be better. But we don't know when this is going to happen. I hope it happens in the next couple of years. I really do. Listen, 2 years is a very short time. If we can get all this stuff out there, if we have this lotion, if we have Atorans, potentially Histogen,
Latisse, allergen Latisse.
I'm not. Listen, I'm not counting. I mean, Latisse is going to be out. But I'm not counting on that product really being a game changer.
Well,
I know you disagree, Joe, and I hope that you're right.
No, I don't disagree. What I want to comment on that is that David Picott was interviewed last week. Allergen had its August, third quarter conference call, and he stated that they'll be making a major announcement on their Latisse, for hair loss in October. And the results are very favorable, and it's going to be, one analyst has been a blockbuster drug of the century. So, I mean, I have no information like these other guys do on the message forums. Inside information, I know nothing.
Yeah, I mean, apparently the guys on the message forums, guys from all over the world, guys from South America, guys from Eastern Europe, guys from Western Europe, guys from all over the world have this insight and this inside information about all these products and all this science that you can't get your hands on. I, for some reason, can't get my hands on. And none of the experts in the field that I know have access to. So I kind of wish that they kind of did their own thing, got this information out there. Probably they should have like a show or something.
They should have their own shows, really. Someone does know, David Picott of Allergen. He knows exactly. He's probably seen corporate pictures of what it does. You agree with that?
Absolutely. I'm sure that someone in the world of broadcasting would give one of these message forum guys their own show.
I mean, they know so much. I consider myself an expert, and I know nothing. I hate to say it, but I know nothing what's going on.
Yeah, I don't consider myself an expert. You know what? I'm an expert. I'm an expert in this industry. I know how the industry runs. I know exactly what's going on in the field. I know what's going on for the most part, from what the behind the scenes stuff. Some of the behind the scenes stuff that people allow me to be privy to. That's it. As far as being a hair loss expert, everyone has always kind of put me in that category. Whether I'm on, in a newspaper or on national television or on somebody else's radio show, even Dr. Oz said that. The truth of the matter is, I do not portray myself as a hair loss expert. I'm an expert in the hair loss industry. I certainly understand hair loss. I understand just about everything. I think about, the effective treatment and the prevention of hair loss. But to say that I'm an expert, I think, is a misnomer.
Well, okay. I can understand what you're saying. But it really aggravates me, these guys in the message forums, like stating what will work, what percentages of hair will grow. I mean, they don't know. They don't know anything. I mean, they don't know a goddamn thing. How dare they even make these statements?
Dude, you gotta get a kick out of it. You ever read this shit? It's hilarious. It's entertainment. It's pure, unadulterated entertainment, and the passion and the arguments and the the anger and the hatred, and it's wild to see these emotions on paper, and to see, I mean, some of the bullshit that they put out there. And, speaking of some bullshit, I actually had a nice long conversation with Dr. Cohen Go yesterday. We will be conducting an interview, I think, this week. I was supposed to do it tomorrow, but I have a conflicting engagement. So hopefully he can make it on Thursday or Friday. And I will actually have to phone this one in because I am not going to be in my studio. However, I will be able to obviously record it and get it online from anywhere I am. But, there's some disappointment there. He's disappointed with a lot of stuff that's being put out there. And I think that he's going to voice those concerns.
I mean, he could solve everything if he shows a know it 6 transformed to a know it 1.
Doesn't even have to do that. I mean, that would be great, but he doesn't have to do that to prove anything. First of all, he doesn't have to prove anything to anybody.
Yeah.
All he has to do is do the right thing for his patients. And when he feels ready, which at least according to him is currently not the time to train doctors, he will. There's a lot of questions about, why doctors aren't able to get in touch with him and all kinds of things. These are questions that, at least on the phone, he said he will be more than happy to answer and kind of set the record straight for everybody. But I think, at least from his tone and from having some nice long conversations with him, he sees this stuff and he's just like, I don't even know where this shit comes from. Now, that's not a direct quote, so please don't quote me. That's just the impression that I get. Yeah. From when I speak with him. I mean, he's as miffed and as like what's going on here in the online world as we all are. So hopefully he can straighten out the situation and answer a lot of people's questions and just kind of set the record straight for the online world who somehow think that, I don't know, either the hair loss industry or doctors in the hair loss industry or whomever, they're trying to kind of like put the brakes on Go's progress, because that's not the case. It's Dr. Go's decision, period.
Well, in my opinion, he should just train some IAHRS doctors, and that would prove it once and for all.
Well, we're going to find out whether or not he actually wants to train any hair transplant doctors, and we're going to find that that information is going to be put out there, and let the information come from the horse's mouth. That's all I have to say. Right now, everything that's online is complete speculation. Most of it is bullshit, and that has nothing to do with how successful his technique is. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what the online world is talking about. The conversation that's currently happening on a lot of the message forums is just so out of line from reality that hopefully Dr. Go can set everybody straight. And I think that's what he wants to do. That's why, he contacted me yesterday. And, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. There's certainly a communication barrier. He's obviously, and I've said this before, if I was able to speak, as many languages as he can and express himself the way that he does in English, that would be, that would be incredible. But I still have a little bit of trouble understanding everything, and I kind of have to repeat the questions, and so hopefully it'll be clear for everybody else.
But this, when you see me a few minutes, you mind. I mean, this has gone on for years with this guy. I mean, he has some. If what he's stating is true, he has surgical. Let me emphasize: he has surgically, for the first time in history, cured hair loss. And these guys playing games. If it's true what he's saying, he deserves a Nobel Prize. He has surgically cured hair loss for the first time in history. This is true what he's saying.
Right. Well, I don't know if it's. Yeah, I mean, it's closest thing to a cure that we have, for sure.
Unlimited donor area. I mean, you should have 30,000 grafts.
Yeah, but I don't think he ever stated that there's that it will be an unlimited donor supply. I could be wrong, but I've never actually seen I don't know. I don't think I've seen that on his website. I don't think he ever told me that. So I don't know. I don't know if that's. I think that there is, that he's saying that there's basically he's multiplying the donor area, but we don't know if it's going to be unlimited. But I could be wrong. I mean, we'll get that information when I interview him this week.
I mean, if he's just sitting on this, I mean, he has a game changer. If what he's saying is true, he could change the world. That's
well, we're going to talk. We're going to talk about this because what's going to happen from this show is that the show will probably be transcribed, and these guys will kind of twist and pick every word apart that we say, Joe. And they'll include in the transcriptions they'll include the us and all the stuff to kind of emphasize that at least the way that they feel about me and the way that they feel about you and the program in general. But I'm still going to work hard to get this information out to the public, and I'm still going to do my best to help Dr. Go in any way that I can. I told him that I would. I said this to him years ago. However, the general consensus of a small group of very vocal online people is that we want to keep this down. We don't want to see this come to fruition, and it's just nonsense. But, listen, it is what it is. Andrew, by the way, I put down the sound a little bit. Is that any better? You drive me fucking nuts, by the way. All right, Joe, let's take a phone call, all right?
Just say one quick thing. A lot of people are wondering if this guy is the real Scorpion, who he is. A lot of people in the chat room are demanding Scorpion calls in, and they don't know if this guy is Scorpion in the chat room or not. You want to comment on that?
I have no comment on it. I cannot comment on that situation at all, and frankly, it's not a situation that I even want to comment on. I want to get to the meat of what we're supposed to be doing. I want to answer people's questions. Okay. And I want to talk about hair loss.
Upset you.
You didn't upset
me. I'm
sorry,
sorry. In the chat room, they're asking.
All right, I'm gonna keep you potted up. All right.
Thank you, Spencer.
Hey, you're on the air. Who's this?
Hey, Spencer.
Hey, George. What's happening, bro?
I missed you guys last week. Hey, Joe. Good to hear your voice, my friend.
Hey, George.
Thank you for the report, Joe. Here I am hanging on by my fingernails, man. 21 years later, still hanging on the words of all these prophetic white-coated assholes telling us we're going to have the cure in 5 minutes and the rest of my life will be salvaged. Yeah, right. I mean, I hate to say it, Joe. I'm more inclined to agree with Spencer that I'll fucking believe it when I see it. And Spencer, I'm a big fisherman, so when you put that little banner on your website, Gone Fucking Fishing, you can go with me.
Yeah, no, it's going to be Gone Fishing Motherfuckers.
Gone Fishing Motherfuckers. Come on down to the Gulf Coast, man. We'll party. We'll go out deep sea fishing. I'll take you bass fishing. We'll have great food, and we'll celebrate the end of the. I kind of feel like our lifetime, Joe, has kind of been like the fucking Middle Ages, the Dark Ages with the bubonic plague. It's like we're waiting for the plague to be over. So life can start all over again.
It's worse than the plague, man.
And Joe's right. These kids that are just, they're on the internet and they're like under the age of 25, and listen, there was always a lot of craziness online when it came to hair loss, but what's happening today is it's nothing compared to I remember the old alt.bald spot and the original forums, like the old school forums, like Hair Loss Help, and listen, they still have an active forum, and there's a lot of good information on there. But I just remember how things were, and while there was a lot of infighting, there was a lot of anger. It's just not what it is today. This generation is so different, and you're right, Joe. We didn't have anything back then. We had nothing to really hang our hats on, so to speak. Now these guys have real hope, and they're still beating the shit out of each other online.
Is it the fact that they've grown up in such a?
Hold on. What is that? Are you like opening up a Christmas gift or something, George? What's going on?
I apologize, dude. No, I was closing the Ziploc on a bag of pistachio meats. Anyway, sorry about that. I couldn't let my expensive pistachios go stale. Are these kids just because they grew up and there's such a vicious time where the media has been so fucking vicious, and there, there's nothing sacred anymore to the media.
I think so. Actually, that's a really good point. I'm going to let you finish it, but I think before I forget my thought, I think that's it. And also the world of the internet, the world of anonymity, the fact that people just believe, they post things, with impunity, and they don't really think about hurting other people's feelings, that there's someone else on the other side of that screen who may have just had that hair transplant, and, they save their money and they're hoping for the best. And, there's some, schmuck in Europe who's saying, why the hell did you get a transplant from this guy? Or why? They already had it done. Let them, hopefully get a good result and not have anxiety, any unnecessary anxiety because you think that they made the wrong decision. It's too late. You know what I mean? That's the kind of shit that you see that happens on the message forums. I'm at the point in my life now where it's almost impossible to shock me anymore because I've seen such horrific stuff. But I tell you, I was so shocked when you look at the level of viciousness of these kids, and Joe, I can commiserate with Joe about how shocked and angry I get sometimes with how vicious these kids are online. We brought this up on one of the Friday night free-for-alls with Andrew a while back, and I saw something about it again just recently. You remember the case out? I think it was out in California where there was this rich girl whose father was rolling in the bucks, and he bought a fancy Porsche or something. He had some really expensive sports car. Yeah. This girl's name was Nikki something or another, and she drank some alcohol or did some dope or something and jumped in her daddy's vehicle and hauled ass down the highway and clipped somebody and then went into a concrete bridge abutment and slapped her head against the thing, and her head and brain just exploded, and they showed close-up pictures of this girl's, basically her scalp with the hair on it, but the skull and everything inside it had exploded. And the one of these guys had posted this picture, and it showed the car against the abutment with her brain tissue all over the ground, with the scalp with the hair on it, and he wrote a caption on it. He said, showed her body, and he said, "I'd still hit it." Yeah, we live in a fucking disgusting world.
Evil. And when they went to this girl's funeral, these little fuckers, these little cocksuckers, got their hands on the parents, on the father's phone number, and sent text messages, "Daddy, I'm still alive." Yeah, at the funeral. Yeah, these kids are so vicious. They're so it's like they're sociopathic and just evil beyond belief.
And and these kids, and it's listen, the hair loss world is it's crazy. But just what's said about people on the message forums, what's said about doctors or their families or patients or poor kids who they put their pictures up to say, "How do I look?" And somebody will say, "You look like shit." We're all supposed to be in this together, but these guys are so angry and so spiteful and so unhappy that they have to lay this shit on other guys. I'm unhappy, you better be unhappy. I think you look like shit. And I sometimes I read this, and like I said, I only read usually the day of the show. I used to read it on Sundays, now I read it on Tuesdays. I was actually out most of the day, so I didn't have a lot of time to read. I was reading some stuff on my phone. Some of it's funny, you got to laugh, and some of it's just like, what are you fucking thinking? You're dealing with hair loss. Maybe give the person a helping hand. If they've decided to have strip surgery and you are uncomfortable with that, then you know what? It's done. Wish them the best of luck and hope for the best, and say, you know what? If it looks good, it looks good. If you don't think it looks good, just be quiet. Because this person is suffering enough to go and have cosmetic surgery. Suffering enough to save that money and take that time and have that hair transplant, and now you're making them feel like shit. And don't think that when they read this stuff that they don't feel like shit, that they don't start to have anxiety, that can't affect their life, because it can. Go ahead, George.
I tell you what, it scares me to think about. I watch all these programs on the History Channel, and of course I've been involved in the Patriot movement for so long, and we see everything happening heading towards society's collapse with Europe going down the drain, America's debt crisis is worse than Europe, all this, the wildfires, the global warming shit, the food crisis, the food shortages, all this, the threat of pandemics, the terrorism thing. It's just like everything's going down the fucking tubes, and they got these History 2 channel programs about what happens after society collapses. I saw one that showed this family, leaving L.A. and trying to travel, and how it's going to end up like fucking Mad Max, with these people becoming animals. And, and when you look at that kind of program, you think to yourself, well, maybe it might be extreme, but I lived 2 hours and 20 minutes from New Orleans, and we saw what fucking animals human beings turn into within a couple of days.
Oh, yeah.
Over there. And when you hear the evil shit coming from these people on these forums, I'm thinking that these are the kind of fuckers we're going to be dealing with if society collapses. And they're just such evil animals. You don't know what the hell these people are going to do.
But what's surprising about the internet, and maybe it shouldn't be surprising, but people that you would think that would not act or behave in this manner, like professionals, are out there trying to anonymously and failing bash their colleagues, bash their patients. I have been a victim of it. I know a lot of other people that have been a victim of just crazy, vicious shit online. And, this one guy that we caught that I ended up having to sue, and we prevailed in and we talked about this before, in a kind of a landmark case here in the state of California. He just closed his practice. It was a substantial, financial win, but more importantly, it was the moral victory for his colleagues, for his patients that he defamed, obviously for me. And you just don't know where it's coming from. That's the scary thing about the internet. You never know. You see something nasty about another doctor, don't be surprised if it's not his competition. Do not be surprised if those bad reviews are not coming from the doctor next door, because this is exactly what happened with this Beverly Hills hair transplant surgeon.
Spencer, what percentage of this shit with these so-called professionals trying to torpedo each other, what percentage of that is based on pure fucking greed for money, for market share, and how much of it's pride? How much of it's pride in trying about what they're doing, about I'm better than you, or I'm the best, and how much of it's just pure I want all the business, greed?
I think it's mostly greed, and also the fact that they feel they can't, they're not getting enough attention. This particular doctor was someone who can never be a part of what we do. And, he took exception to that because it was, it hurts people's practices. The bottom line is, when people look for surgical hair restoration right now, there are certain criteria. And, if you're not being spoken about well online, if you're not part of, the IHRS, for instance, if you're not, listen, and there are IHRS doctors non-IHRS doctors out there that are doing some really great work. They just haven't applied to the organization. But basically, it's an important criteria for people. So if you can't be a part of it and they see that their competition is doing well because of it, or that if patients are walking through their door and saying, hey, you know what, I just had 4 consults and, why aren't you part of this organization? They don't have an answer for it. So it kind of gets them angry. And what they do is a lot of times actually lash out, not necessarily against me, this particular guy did, but against their colleagues. And so I think it's greed and I think it's jealousy. I don't think it's because they think that they are God's gift to surgery or that they are necessarily better, because the guys that believe that, they kind of act in a different manner. They'll present their case online. They won't go out there and actually actively try to destroy somebody's reputation. They'll just try to kind of up their game and let the world know how good they are.
So you think it may be 80% pure fucking unmitigated greed for market share and 80% of it is jealousy? 20% is jealousy.
I think that it may be more like, 60-40. I think there's a lot of jealousy and a lot of why am I not, I went to medical school, I'm doing this, why am I not doing as well as these guys? Why is, everyone shortlist, just a group of 60 doctors, across the country and around the world? Why am I not included in that? Well, you're not included in it because you're not, making the grade. And, it could be because you haven't applied. Maybe if you applied and you're really good, then you're going to be a part of what we do. Whatever. But the one thing that I never do is I do not go out there and I do not bash physicians. I do not bash doctors who are not part of the IHRS. I do not bash. That's just not my gig. I tell the truth of my feelings about large chain hair transplant clinics, and I explain to people, the dangers and the entire scope and possible pitfalls of this industry. But I am not going to go out there at this stage in my career, and maybe there was a time that I did at the very, very beginning, especially for some of the really egregious stuff. But the industry has changed to the point where that type of work in general is not being done anymore. The guys that are really hacking up patients, leaving them kind of out there to hang without, a decent result, or, with really, really bad scarring, and that's atypical at this point. Most of the guys have upped their game. So in general, the work has really gotten a lot better. The industry in general is a lot stronger than it was when I started. I don't think there's any need to bash anybody. I think really what you have to do is kind of highlight the type of work that's available and highlight the best guys that are doing the best work consistently. And with that said, George, my philosophy, man. Surgery is a last resort. Once you're cut, whether it's FUE, whether it's a iteration of FUE, whether it's a strip procedure, there's no turning back. None. And if for some reason it doesn't work out, no matter what the procedure, you're going to be disappointed. You're going to be out money. And, surgery is always going to be there. My advice is, wait.
Absolutely. Look, I appreciate you getting my question and point in. I'm gonna let you press on. If you can put me in the hold mode, because I have to hit the road and I wanted to listen to the rest of the program. But I wanted to ask you quickly: did you guys have anything significant happen last week when I missed? And the second question is, have you followed through on checking with this Angela Cristiano, scientist woman, about getting her back on to talk? You said you were going to check into that.
I did say that I was going to check into that. I haven't followed through with anything that I told you or John. I think his name is John from New York, that I was going to do. My summer has been so hectic and difficult, on some personal levels, plus work, that I haven't had time to do it. And I'm like, you know what? I don't even have the head for it, to be honest.
I understand.
Hopefully we'll be able to take care of that all by mid-September. I have a lot of new things happening in my career also, which I'll be able to talk about publicly. So I'm just kind of tied up with a lot of shit, and that's the truth.
Anything go down last week that was significant that I missed?
Yes, actually, I'm back into red wine. I don't know if I told you that. So
look, I just want to say hello to Johnny from Ohio, and to Andrew and Suncast and all the rest of the crew. And it's about time our friend Marcus checked in. Marcus, if you're out there, we need to hear from you, dude.
Well, George, you hear my opening comments tonight? My opening statement about.
Yes, I did. And again, as I said, I want to be encouraged. However, I'm more in Spencer's camp. I'll fucking believe it when I see it. I'm sick and tired of these guys promising shit to try to hold our attention, and it never comes to fruition. I'm not going to get my hopes up anymore, Joe, just to get dashed down to the ground again. I've been riding that cycle, that roller coaster of emotions for 21 years, and I'm just over it, man. I'm 50 years old now, and I'm over their empty fucking promises. Like my great-grandfather, who died in 1965 when I was 3, fought in the Spanish-American War. Like he always said, talk is cheap. It takes cash money to buy horses. Okay? I'm sick of their fucking talk. It's time for these guys to deliver on something. I'm sick of their fucking talk.
Well, when they deliver, George, they'll make trains of, not billions, but trillions of dollars. So I'm demanding they deliver it soon.
I'll believe it when I see it, Joe.
It's obvious hair loss sufferers are going to have another miserable Christmas. I hope Christmas 213 maybe a Merry Christmas.
Look, we'll go out. Hair loss sufferers, you think you're going to have a miserable Christmas, get yourself a bottle of a Blue Label. If you're not with a woman, maybe find a legal place, to get a prostitute and enjoy yourself. All right? Okay, I can't advocate anything. I can't advocate anything that's illegal. Go ahead.
Spencer, who needs a woman? God has given the greatest gift to perform on ourselves.
Oh, no.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, Joe, but I think, nothing beats a woman, man. Nothing beats that warm body. Nothing beats the enjoyment you have when you're in bed with a woman.
But it gets It gets old pretty fast, man.
It only gets old if you let it get old.
Oh, mine got old in 3 months.
That's what drugs are for.
Well, it does. You know, it doesn't help. Now, one quick question, Spencer. People in the chat room are demanding that you comment. Not demanding. They're asking me to ask you if you only have any updated information on the L'Oreal product coming out in September, Neogenic.
No, I have no inside information.
Updated information, I said, not inside information.
No, I have no updated information. I would figure that you would have updated information.
No, it's going to be released in September in Europe and be available online immediately. It's going to cost $100 a month.
Well, that's yeah. So, I mean, the only information that I have, honestly, is what you guys have. And, truthfully, I'm not pinning too much hope on L'Oreal's product. But listen, George, thank you for the call, man. You said you wanted to be on hold?
If you can put me in hold mode, I would greatly appreciate it. So I got to get on the road and go take care of some errands. But I wanted to listen to the rest of the program.
Yeah, maybe if you got yourself a smartphone.
I do have a smartphone, dude. But I don't have streaming. I mean, I've got an iPhone. I finally got a friggin' iPhone. I told you that.
So why don't you just go to gfqlive.tv and you can listen to the program. You can just click on audio, put it on speaker, and you can listen to it. You have Bluetooth set up?
I can do that without having streaming on the internet because I only have like 30 minutes of streaming a month. I have to get within range of a router to stream stuff.
So you're not you have 4G?
No, there is no 4G on iPhones. It's only 3G.
3G, yeah.
But I only have 30 minutes of video streaming a month, so I don't know if what you're suggesting to me is even something that.
I didn't even know that. I never even heard of that. I never even heard of that. You can only get 30 minutes of streaming. It's like, is that just like your local? It's just, your Alabama Verizon or something?
No. I'm with C Spire Wireless, which used to be Cellular South. But if I can get unlimited streaming through a router, so any place I go to, an internet cafe or a coffee shop, or almost every fucking place you go has got a Wi-Fi there. Any place, if I'm home, I can use my internet.
Why don't you download the Stitcher app? I think you're going to be able to listen without having to worry about that streaming limitation. Now, I'm going to put you on hold, but download Stitcher on your phone. Go to Stitcher.com or go to the iPhone store, the Apple store, and you can download that app and you can listen to this broadcast.
I tell you what, I'll go to the store. They got a guy, the technology guy, that shows you how to use all the iPhone crap. I'll tell him I need him to get me hooked up where I can do that.
All right, well, I'm going to put you on hold.
I'll do that within the next few days. But thanks for putting me on hold, and I appreciate
why don't you stay home, man? I don't know how you're a hair loss sufferer. How you ever leave your house so much? I just can't understand it.
All right, guys, I'm going to take some phone calls, and then I'm going to have to take a break. All right, so George, I'll put you on hold. 888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. You're on the air.
Hey, Spencer, this is Vic from D.C.
Hey, Vic from D.C. How are you, man?
Good. Hey, just got to say, you don't look 47, man. You look like you're in your 30s.
Well,
whatever you're doing, you just got to keep doing what you're doing because you look like you're in your 30s.
Well, I appreciate that. I think, just to be honest with you, that the camera itself and the lights kind of smooth out your skin a little bit, so you can't really see any wrinkles, or not that many, and my hair is much grayer in person. But with that said, I do look pretty good.
Yes, you do.
No, I appreciate that. Thanks a lot.
Well, before I start, gotta say hi to Joe from Staten Island, and definitely hope your health is good because I've been following the show and I heard about some of the potential diagnosis you've been getting. So I hope everything's good with you, Joe. We all need you on the show. So,
well, I appreciate that, my friend.
Well, and Joe, while I'm gonna let Vic. It's Vic, right?
Yeah.
Vic. I'm gonna let Vic ask his question. But how is your health?
Who's Dick? What did you say about Dick?
No one's Dick. I said Vic. He's sick.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Joe?
My health is, shall we say, I won't get into it, but we'll say stable.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're stable. So what's happening, Vic?
Well,
thanks.
Just calling in because one part of your one part of your what you tell the viewers really fascinates me. You always say to be careful and do your due diligence before a hair transplant. I think that's information that has helped me tremendously because, like you said, once you're cut, and that's something that's made me do more research before I take the plunge, and that also led me to try and figure out from a psychological point of view how some people deal with it. And so, obviously, some big names come to mind, and one person in particular I thought would be interesting to bring up on your show is Dr. Phil. I mean, he's been bald for a really long time, and I Googled it, and I saw a couple transcripts of some interviews where people asked him about his hair loss, and he said, "You know what? I can't do anything about it." And of course, that's controversial because there's surgery, there's hair pieces, and everything. But I think there's a big point there. I think he said that it never bothered him, and so that fascinated me. I was just wondering how do some people come to complete terms? And he hasn't shaved it off either. So I was wondering your viewpoint on this because it's really fascinating.
Honestly, I have no clue, man. I'm a mess. You know, why do you think I do this show? So, but no, that was kind of a joke, a half joke. You know, part of me understands as I'm getting older how people can come to terms with it. You know, the way I come to terms with it is I've realized that I never want to have no hair on my head. So whether it's by hook or by crook, I'm going to have hair, whether it's, you know, if the medication keeps it going with the slight comb over with the paint, if I need to eventually get a hair transplant or put on a hairpiece, I'm comfortable with that. And to say, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. And I got to tell you, it'll be a great hairpiece, you know, whatever it is. So I know that I don't want to look at myself every day and walk out without hair. That's my thing. So I've come to terms with that without having to say, okay, if it has to be my hair, otherwise I'm going to die. So to me, that's been a big step. There are guys that, you know, you got to understand, Dr. Phil has got to be in his 60s now. So when he was going through the initial throws, and he was a young guy, if you look at young pictures of him in college, you know, he was like a high school and college football player. I mean, he was pretty bald already. He was balding in high school, I think. So he had to come to terms with it. Otherwise, what was he going to do? I also think back then, while looks were obviously always important, there's a little less emphasis on a man's looks than there are today. And also with that said, he was a big guy. He was a football player, tall guy, very commanding presence. And being an athlete probably helped because he probably got plenty of, you know, attention. And yes, it sucked, but he probably had a great social life. And he seemed like he was obviously extremely well adjusted. So all of those aspects of his life made it easier for him, in my, you know, estimation, to deal with hair loss. Plus, he looks like the type of guy that probably saw it in his family because he started at such a young age. And he just came to terms with it at a very, very, you know, early point in his life. And he obviously had no problem meeting women. And who knows, maybe he did to some degree, but he figured it out. And that's just one example. There's obviously millions of examples of guys who they deal with it and they come to terms with it on different levels. And I'm talking about my personal experience. You know, my personal experience is it made me very insecure. It really affected me in a way that I hated it. I hated myself for feeling this way, and I hated the idea of being looked at as less attractive at a young age, and I do to this day feel that way. And I feel very fortunate that A, I saved a lot of hair, but B, that I've come to terms with it in a sense that at least I know that, all right, I've done my research. I know what can help me at least look better. I may not ever grow all my hair back. I may, you know, not get a full head of hair from a hair transplant, but I have all these options in front of me, and I will utilize either several of them or one of them, you know, whatever I need to do to get myself to the point where I'm comfortable walking outside the house.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, I mean, No, I've been watching your show for the past 3 years, and I mean, this is the only safe place. This is the only safe place where people understand. So,
well, that's nice. That's nice to hear, and I appreciate you saying that.
And
yeah, sure.
Are you married, dude? Do you have a girlfriend? I mean, what's your social status, if I might ask?
Social status is single at the moment.
Do you feel your hair loss, being hair loss sufferer, is affecting you, meeting a man or woman? I don't know your sexual preference, but do you feel that?
No, Joe, you're absolutely correct. It has a huge influence. It has a huge negative influence, I would say. You're absolutely correct.
You know, let me just say one thing briefly, if you don't mind, guys. I've studied this phenomenon for years. I see the most beautiful woman with balding men. I think most women don't care. I think it's how we perceive ourselves. We destroy our self-confidence, which turns women off.
Well, and you're right. What happens is, we notice that maybe we're not getting as much attention from women, or if you walk into a bar, women are giving the guy with the better head of hair that might appear initially more attractive to them more attention. So, so that really kind of screws a guy up if he's not equipped to deal with that. Okay, you know what? I'm not as good looking as I once was. I may not be getting that initial attraction, but if I do approach this person, there's a good chance, especially if I'm a cool guy, that I'm going to get her attention and eventually maybe win that attention over the guy that was initially more attractive. And what happens with women, and this is the truth, once you get into a woman's head, once you start to speak to her a little bit, all of a sudden you become much better looking, and they kind of forget that initial attraction to the other person. That's just the way women are wired, and guys don't get that. Guys think it's so black and white, just like it is with us. It's not. It really isn't. And I will tell you that in my world, I'm choking to death. In my world and in my social circle, most of the guys that are with the hottest women they're not unattractive. They keep themselves well, and they usually keep themselves fit to some degree, but they're not what you would call, or what young guys would think would be really good looking. They're average, or even or even below average in some cases, especially once they're entering their 40s. And their women are young for the most part and smoking hot. And it's not just because these guys have money. A couple of them are just, they've had their ups and downs. One friend that I know has had his ups and downs in business. He was a millionaire, and then he was broke, and now he's getting back on his feet. And I mean, just beautiful, beautiful wife that just, loves the guy. So you see these guys on the street, you'd be like, wow, a 25-year-old would be like, how'd that guy get, this guy must be a millionaire, whatever it is. That's just not the case, man. That's just not the case.
Well, Joe, if you're on the air, I got Spencer. Is it okay if I ask? Spencer, is it okay if I ask?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
So, Joe, I need your expert opinion on something. See, my skin tone is basically Brazilian. It's like tanned. It's not black, but it's like light. It's like light brown. It's nice and tanned. And my question for you, Joe, is: I know you've always told us to be careful of hair transplants. What do you think about me getting something like a FUE? Because I'm scared of those white dots.
Well,
Joey's asking you the question.
To be honest with you, I would give this question to Spencer because he's more of a hair transplant expert, and he deals with it day in and day out. No disrespect.
No. I was going to ask this to Spencer, but since you're on the air, I just wanted your quick input before I hear what Spencer's going to tell me.
Obviously, I'm going to be perfect. I don't want to mislead you. I'm more of an expert in research, current therapies coming up, not hair transplantation. So I don't want to mislead you in any way. I don't want to hurt you in any way. So, if you don't mind, I defer this question to you for the gentleman.
No, I don't mind at all, Joe. I think the darker your skin, the more potential to have visible scarring, and also with any type of procedure that affects your skin, whether it's laser resurfacing or any type of cosmetic surgery. You guys are obviously more prone to having visible scarring or hypopigmentation because of having naturally darker skin. When you have FUE, if you have very, very light skin, those little white dots aren't that visible unless you tan your scalp. In your case, they're going to be visible. That's just the way that it is. And it really depends on how small the punches are and, how many procedures you have. And frankly, how short you decide to wear your hair. If you are a guy that wants to get a hair transplant to shave their head down to, almost a zero, in the back, then I would say it's probably not for you.
Okay.
I would just say, I don't know, how short do you wear your hair?
Well, I cut it to about a number 2.
Well, I mean, it depends. If you can get 2,500 grafts out, 3,000 grafts out, you're not going to see any confluence of scarring or any visible white marks. But if you cut your hair shorter, it's possible that it could be visible. There is some information about a newer scalp micropigmentation technique that seems to be interesting. I'm kind of interested in learning more about it. It's supposed to be relatively temporary, and I've seen some of the work which looks really good. However, I'm still not promoting it at this point by any means. But in a case like yours, that could be something that you consider down the line if you decide to have a hair transplant. You might be able to, if you realize, I have a lot of little dots back there. I'd like to kind of fill in that color. At least you'll know it's temporary. But I still think that if you're concerned about it and you think you're going to get a lot of grafts and you're going to wear your hair really, really short, you have a greater possibility. Now, is your hair dark?
Yeah, it's pitch black.
So that contrast could show if the hair isn't long enough. It really can, even with the best FUE. So I'm not saying that it will, but it can, especially if you have really dark skin.
Well, I appreciate that, Spencer. And one last question. I just need your expertise, Spencer. Just one last question.
Yeah.
I was wondering, now, basically, my hair is, I've gone through your forums, and a lot of people, those pictures really help.
Good.
So one of the things I noticed is some people have immense thickness in their donor area. I'm not one of those people. I definitely do not have a thick donor area. So that's one thing that scares me. Second thing that scares me, and I need your expert opinion on this, is that obviously those spots are going to show, but do you have anything you can recommend where I can just shape or frame the front of my face, whether it's a hairpiece, whether it's just using Topic every day to just create a hairline?
I think it really depends on your hair type. You're telling me that your donor area is not that thick, so I'm assuming that you have kind of a thinner hair all around.
Yes.
I mean,
definitely a Norwood 5 thinning, but I just need something to frame the face.
Well, if you're willing to wear a hairpiece, they have you can get a very, very light partial system that you would actually be able to kind of wear spiked up if you want. It can be like a very thin polyskin membrane that is really paper thin. They're basically disposable. You could have a very just put on a hairline, or you could wear a lace system, which is more difficult to wear, but it could look 100% natural. But it's going to be a pain in the ass for you. It's something that you're going to have to maintain. It's something you're going to have to learn how to finesse yourself. I would suggest if you're going to play with that, you should go to a company like coolpiece.com and order. You can maybe get samples. You can get in-stock hair pieces that you can kind of cut up, or you can get it. And I think they have a really great return policy. You can kind of play with it if you don't cut it, and then send it back just to see if it's something that you think would look good against your skin. There are guys that wear, especially guys with very short hair, that wear these very, very light partial hair pieces and kind of cut like a template into their receding hairline and just glue that on and then blend it with the rest of their hair. And it could work. It really can work. But, how are you going to feel when you're out, getting intimate with somebody and you have to, explain to them that how old are you, by the way?
I'm 28.
Yeah, 28-year-old guy, it's going to be more difficult for him, I think, to explain to a new person in their life, especially if they're young, that they're wearing a hairpiece, because it's just still, for whatever reason, sadly, not socially acceptable. That's not to say that women don't accept it. I know a couple of people. I know one guy in particular who's one of the most, he's a great-looking guy. He's basically a bodybuilder. He has a smoking wife, and he wears a system. And, you know, I mean, when his wife met him, she had no idea. He had to tell her, and she didn't give a shit. And now he has a great life with a beautiful wife, and his hair looks good because he made that choice. But you have to come to terms with something like that and say, you know what? This is what I want for my life. I want to look good when I leave the house. I just have to come to grips with the idea of telling somebody and hoping they accept it. If you can deal with that, then I think that could be an option for you.
Well, hey, I just want to say thank you for taking my call, and I really appreciate your expert opinion on this because, this show is, I'm saying it again, it's literally the only place where people do understand. So thank you very much, Spencer, for your expert opinion. Joe, thank you very much, too. I appreciate getting to talk to you as well.
Well, Vic, I appreciate you calling in. And you know what? To me, you just don't sound like a candidate for a hair transplant. So don't jump into that, man. Just really think about your other options.
Well, Spencer, I got to say, you are perhaps the most honest person in the hair loss industry. So thank you very much for your opinion. And definitely do not retire. We all need you.
Well, I appreciate that sentiment. But
don't say that, Vic, please.
I'll let you guys know. I'll let you guys know in a couple of months what I decide to do.
Spencer, please, I don't want to see.
All right, just relax. I'm just joking. All right, Vic, listen, thanks for the call.
You joke with the wrong group of people, Spencer.
Take it easy, Vic.
Thank you, Spencer.
All right.
Thank you.
888-659-3727. Go ahead, what?
Can I ask you one quick question about hair transplants? I defer the question, I hope you don't mind. I'm not an expert like you on hair transplants.
I don't mind. I'd love to take a fucking break. I really would. You guys don't let me take a break.
All right. Okay, you have to go.
No, go ahead. Ask me the question.
Quickly. The back of your neck, I have to shave it twice a week. The hair grows so fast back there. How come that is not utilized in a hair transplant? All that hair in the back of your neck, you have to shave.
There are doctors that will utilize the hair. It's nape hair. The problem is there are a lot of guys who have aggressive hair loss, or who it may not seem to be that aggressive until later in life, and they lose that nape hair. You may never lose that hair, Joe. You're 50-something years old, so that hair might be easily utilized for you. But I'd say in most cases, it's a real risk. And again, I'm not a physician. So for the young guys who want to use nape hair for their hairlines, and all these guys who are out there promoting large body hair grafting, procedures, just be careful, be cautious with that nape hair, because that hair could eventually fall out. And I've seen some nape hair extractions that kind of leave some obvious scarring. That's a very visible part of a person's body, especially if they wear their hair short. And you don't want to have this confluence of weird scarring on the back of your neck. Not saying that happens all the time, but I have seen that in certain cases.
I mean, quickly, you know what I'm talking about, the area that's completely shaved down when you get a hair. I cut my own hair. The area that's completely shaved down. You know what I mean? I'm talking about the back
the back of your neck. The back of your neck. But yeah, what happens if you extract 500 grafts from the back of your neck and you have scarring back there? You have this confluence of scarring on the back of your neck. Plus that's also an area that gets a tremendous amount of movement. So I don't care if the and again, this is theoretical, but I don't care how small that punch is, you are still cutting a hole into the skin. And as you move, how do you know it's not possible to kind of increase the size of those scars just by the constant movement of your neck? I don't know if that's possible. Theoretically, I think that it would be. And also, I just don't know how great that hair is going to be for transplantation. There are a couple of doctors, one doctor here in the Los Angeles area who is a big believer in using nape hair and body hair for hair transplantation. I don't recommend it as a layman and as an expert in the hair transplant industry. I would say it's not a good idea, but I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to judge this person. But I would never have it done. 888-659-3727. I'm going to take one phone call, and then I have to take a break. Let's see who this is. You're on the air. Who's this?
Yeah, hello?
Hello.
Hi, my question is this. I started taking Propecia in 1999 and started heavily using it in 2000. And in 2001,
well, let me ask you a question. You started to take it and then started to heavily use it? I'm not clear on that.
Well, I guess taking it off and on in 1999. And I would start and stop. And in 2001, I got testicular cancer. And
I'm sorry to hear that.
I had to have a bilateral orchiectomy. And I'm not trying to, correlate the Propecia to testicular cancer. But my question is this. I now take testosterone replacement, and I'm still continuing to have hair loss.
Right.
And I know DHT is the cause of hair loss. Is there a way or something that you know of? Because I know that some hospitals will provide natural testosterone replacement, which is different than what I use is androgel.
Right.
And I know that's different. I'm wondering if they are compounding this themselves, is there a way for them to take out and this is where I'm kind of ignorant, the DHT component, if they were to make that for me and I was to try that?
Well, that's not ignorant. It's not a stupid question. The thing is, it's not that they can take out the DHT component. Basically, what's happening is that, you are supplementing your testosterone because you're not producing as much testosterone naturally. Your adrenal glands are going to produce some testosterone, but not enough. The testosterone is converted by an enzyme that is in your body, that's present in your body, and that enzyme is 5-alpha reductase type 2. Unless you suppress that enzyme, that conversion from testosterone to to DHT is going to continue. So you can't take the DHT out of the testosterone. The testosterone is actually being converted by an enzyme in your body.
Oh, I see. Okay. So, it doesn't matter what I do. Let me make sure I understand you. It's once it's in there, it's the enzyme that's creating it, and then thus creating the DHT.
That's correct.
Okay. And
so the only thing that you'd be able to do is, if you were willing to, since you're not making the correlation. I think it was probably just a coincidence that you were on it for such a short time that you had the testicular cancer. But I guess there could be a possible correlation. But at this stage, you have to think, would it be worth it for you to get back on finasteride because you're concerned about your hair loss, and that obviously that's a decision you and your doctor are going to have to make.
Okay. Yeah, because I've been considering going back on it, but there's in the back of my mind, I wonder, was it that, or was it something else? And I'll be honest with you, during that time too, when I was in college, I was lifting weights pretty heavily, and I was taking something that was Mark McGuire took it.
Androstat
and I was taking that in conjunction with the Propecia, and that's a lot of shit going on, with
how many young guys are a lot of guys are actually taking full on Deca or Dianabol, or a lot of young guys take steroids. It's stupid, but when you're young. When you're young, and you didn't even take full-on steroids, when you're young, you feel like you are invincible, and all of your friends are using it. If you're an athlete, whatever it is, it depends on how long you're on this stuff. Everybody is different. Some guys can be on heavy juice for 20 years, and really nothing happens to them. It's unusual, and then there are the guys that have the side effects right away, or the guys that are going to get gyno and tumors in their chest, and whatever else. I wouldn't blame yourself. I think it just happened to you, bro. It just happened to you. So I wouldn't blame yourself for what you did. And it was probably only a couple of years out of your life anyway. And if you're only on finasteride for a short period of time, I think it's really, really unlikely that you caused yourself to have this. I think it just happened. So, and I'm sure your doctor would probably agree with that. Right.
Well, I'm kind of leaning more towards taking it again, because I was 21. I'm 33 now, and it's starting to, so I kind of have the faux hawk that I do, because it kind of covers some of the thinning that's coming in.
Well, let me ask you. Let me ask you this: how's your life since you've had testicular cancer? Obviously, you survived.
Yeah, you know what?
Go ahead.
I kind of just, I don't know what. I guess I would say I was pretty frail psychologically in high school, but as I kind of got older, I kind of just pushed on after that, and I'm married now. I have a daughter.
That's awesome.
Through marriage, but so I mean, I really I didn't let it affect me. But I can tell you this, whenever I started losing my hair in high school, probably after I graduated, it freaked me out. I mean, I was freaking out. I went online. I was looking like frivolously for information, and that's when I found your website. And I've listened off and on from time to time throughout the years, and it's always something I come back to, just for comfort, because I'm, just knowing there's other people out there suffering too. But I don't know what I'm going to do, if I'm going to just let it go and shave it short until it's all gone, or try to keep what I have. But yeah, I guess I'm telling you this, just letting you know that I really do appreciate your program and what you do. So keep up the good work, and just thanks for taking my phone call.
All right, man. Well, listen, I wish you the best of luck. I'm so glad that you're okay. And, maybe when guys hear your story, listen, obviously hair loss is still, bugging the crap out of you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be calling the show and you wouldn't be coming to the site. But,
right.
I think you've been through a lot in your life, and you're probably able to put things into perspective better than some other guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, I
appreciate that.
And I appreciate the call. I wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Spencer.
All right, man. Take it easy.
All right.
Please don't pee your pants. Take a break. Hair loss suffers demanding you take a break, man. I don't want you to pee your pants.
I'm not going to pee in my pants. I'm thinking about getting a drink. That's all.
Oh.
Is that all right? 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back, I will continue to take your calls. You are listening to and watching The Bald Truth. I'm Spencer Kobren. We'll be right back.
The man who's helping to make hair loss history.
They wish to cure us, but I say we are the cure.
It's Spencer David Kobren.
Hey guys, welcome back. Phone number is 888-659-3727. I'm Spencer Kobren, and you are listening to and watching The Bald Truth, self-help radio for guys. And, of course, for girls who get it, listen, 2/3 of you by the age of 35 will be dealing with some degree of hair loss. I'm talking about men, and 40% of hair loss sufferers are women. Most households in the world know someone, or, there's someone in their household dealing with hair loss. That's the way that it is. So if you think you're the only one dealing with this issue, if you're a young guy or a young girl, you're 19, 20 years old, and you're dealing with hair loss, please know that you are not alone. You are not alone. 888-659-3727. We're going to go straight to the phones. Let's see who this is.
I'm potted up now.
Hey, you're on the air. And you're potted up too, Joe.
Yeah, Joe's potted up. Hey, Spencer, what's up? This is John from New York again.
John, what's happening, bro?
Hey, John.
Hey, Joe. How you doing, bro? Hey,
Miserable,
Spencer,
thank you. Yourself?
Hair loss is kicking my ass too, brother. Let me tell you. Now, anyway, Spencer. First of all, I was going to tell you that's some killer music you got during the breaks. You're in kind of an '80s metal guy like I am.
Absolutely, man. That's my thing.
Motley Crue without you, bro. That's all. I think last week you played like I think it was Cinderella, Heartbreak Station.
Yeah.
That is like that's like all I listen to, bro. If you were living in New York, we could like hit up a metal show together.
Absolutely, man. Listen, I'm old school.
Yeah, bro. I'm telling you, it's like that's kind of like a little bit like I was born kind of like after 80s metal was in vogue, but that's all I listen to, and that's honestly why hair loss kind of bugs me too, because ever since I was growing up, I always dreamed of looking like a Nikki Sixx, a Bret Michaels, or something like that.
Dude, if you want to look like Nikki Sixx, just put a wig on.
You really think Nikki is a wig?
No, I'm not. I am not saying that. This is not. It's not official. I think there's a possibility, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, Mick Mars, I could be pretty sure about.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of guys, and obviously, there's some members of KISS, and
Oh, no, that's obvious as all hell, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was wondering if I could run by. I know it's kind of late. I was actually called at 8:15, but the lines were just constantly busy. So
no, dude, we got 20 minutes, man. 24 minutes. So go ahead.
Okay, very cool. I'll read off some of this stuff. I saw earlier that George mentioned about Angela Cristiano. So I'm going to read one thing, and it kind of ties into the other thing that I'm going to read, how she used stem cells to cure a certain disease and how that could relate to hair loss. Okay, right. So let me read the first thing. In 2010, a doctor named Jan Barandon, I think he's from France or something, and several other stem cell researchers discovered that when stem cells from the thymus of rats are taken and implanted into the skin and hair, that these thymus stem cells subsequently take on the properties of their surrounding environment and become skin and hair. In Dr. Barandon, who was the lead scientist in this study, said that they quote unquote change track and become the stem cells of the surrounding environment. So that really leads me to believe that if pluripotent stem cells from other parts of the body, specifically maybe bone marrow or umbilical cord blood, are implanted into places where there are hair follicles, that these maybe bone marrow stem cells could change track as well and become fully functioning hair follicles.
I can agree with that. Absolutely.
Okay, and that leads me to what Angela Cristiano did, because I heard George mention him earlier. I think I alluded to this in the fact when I last called, that Angela Cristiano helped cure a previously incurable disease called, let me see if I can pronounce this right, epidermolysis bullosa. I think that's it.
I think that's it too.
Very cool. She used a quote-unquote circulating stem cell technique, which is where stem cells migrate to the site of a particular defect and then work to repair or correct that defect. In this particular case, she used the stem cells of bone marrow and umbilical cord blood. And what really caught my eye with this is that these bone marrow and umbilical cord blood stem cells were used to cure a disease that is not related to the bone marrow or umbilical cord, excuse me, which lends further credence to what I was telling you before, that that stem cells, when implanted into another part of the body, that these stem cells really can quote unquote change track and take on the properties of their surrounding environment. So that gets back to what I say, that maybe if pluripotent stem cells from other parts of the body were injected into the bald areas of the scalp, that these stem cells would too change track and could become fully functioning hair follicle stem cells. So
I think that's a strong possibility. And if these umbilical cord stem cells could actually be used to cure diseases like leukemia, for instance, which they're doing more and more research on, they're finding that these cells have these incredible properties and these powers. Then why not? I definitely agree. I definitely agree with what you're saying, and I'm glad that Angela Cristiano is doing this type of work.
Yeah, I really wish, it's almost like I could scream out to a lot of these scientists, just try, or even doctors, just try this stuff already. Try it on humans, because there are so many people like myself, and I'm sure Joe from Staten Island, who would, who would just be willing to try like these really less invasive treatments that could grow our hair back. So many of us are just dying for a way to grow our hair back, but it's like, the options really aren't there, especially in that stat that I told you last time, that 90% of hair loss sufferers, more than 90% of hair loss sufferers even don't opt for the treatments today. And it's not because, they want to be bald. It's because, the treatments aren't satisfactory and don't do enough in their opinion.
And also there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fears with the side effects, and also there's just a lot of misinformation about old school hair transplants. But you're right. It's not going. None of this is going to get you a full head of hair.
Yeah, exactly. We won't. As I said before, some people do get hair transplants, and really, I don't begrudge them for it. Not at all. That's that's not what I'm all about. But, if the majority of the people, 90% of people, aren't served by that, we really just need these better options. And that leads me to what I was also going to say, that I really like what Joe Greco was attempting to do, using PRP. And
actually, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just about to tell you that you might want to send some information to Joe Greco. It's so funny that you just brought his name up.
Well, actually, what's even funnier, Spencer, is I've been in contact with him for a while now, and he really seems like a nice guy,
He's a great guy. He's a genuine, and he's really concerned about patients.
That's very good, and just I really see what he's doing really seems to be like on the right track, with promoting regrowth, through virtually non-invasive methods,
right.
Which is, through the PRP, which is technically, a stem cell method. And it's really, I think, something like that's on the right track. So if he tried maybe some of these other stem cell methods that I mentioned before, maybe the bone marrow stem cells or the umbilical cord blood stem cells, if someone like that would try something like that, I would sign up.
Well, I can tell you this. You mentioned that you wish that these guys would experiment on human beings, and you'd be willing to do it, and Joe would be willing to do it. Excuse me. And there's a lot of guys that'd be willing to do it. This is the problem. This has been happening. It's happened with ACell. It's happening with PRP right now. And there are guys out there that have not had great results. They go online and they say, you know what, it's an abject failure. And then these, processes, these technologies are getting a bad rap online because patients have to pay to get it done. They feel kind of begrudged, they begrudgingly pay. And then when things don't work out, they're pissed off and they post about it on the internet. So it kind of puts these doctors in a very precarious position. They're not getting funded. They're not getting funded privately or to do their research. So they have to charge patients to do this. And then there's an issue when things don't work out. And I understand why a patient would be unhappy.
Yeah, no. I totally hear you with that. I could tell you a story that relates to that. When I first started losing my hair, unfortunately, I was kind of uneducated about it until I found your website. So I tried the laser treatment. I went to my buddy actually wore a piece. So he told me at his I never wore a piece. I've got I still have hair, thankfully, So my buddy wore a piece, and he told me at the studio where he got it done, they did a laser treatment program, and I paid $1,500 over 6 months to do it.
Sure.
Basically because I was uneducated about the whole process. But the point being, it really didn't do much. But the point being, even though it didn't do much, I didn't set out to bash the clinic or anything. I was more.
You're one of these guys that has kind of a normal outlook, a more rational outlook. But sadly, that's not the case. And there's some good guys out there that are, their names are being, dragged through the mud on the internet. It's affecting them. It's affecting the progress of, their research. And it's just, it's a bad situation. And you know what? I can't blame the patient for being unhappy, but I think people have to have reasonable expectations and understand, I'm going to put this money down. This is not necessarily going to work. And in some cases, it can make, it's possible anything can make you worse. And kind of deal with those consequences, but there's a lot of guys that can't deal with that. So it puts these doctors and the science in a difficult situation.
Well, I'll tell you something, Spencer. I kind of almost had a little bit of a reason to be more pissed off because like I said, I was very uneducated about hair loss. I think a lot of people really are because just there isn't enough information out there. You do a great job of putting it out there, but there's. In other respects, there really isn't a lot of information, So, when I first met with the guy about the laser treatment, he promised something like, you could regrow 50% of your hair back, and I actually believed that because I was very uneducated. So I was kind of pissed off that he lied to me and everything. But then I thought about it. Another way, and I said, I'm not really pissed off that I didn't grow any hair. I'm just, I'm sorry. I wasn't pissed off that I lost all that money,
right?
Because I just needed to do something.
Sure.
I wanted to do something, So I don't know. But anyway, you mind if I read you one more thing real quick? Is that cool?
Go ahead, man.
Beautiful. Thank you. actually, I found out about a doctor in Manhattan not too long ago. I actually visited him last year, who he does like mesotherapy and everything, where he would inject hair growth stimulants like azelaic acid and others. I forgot what the others were. It was like maybe vitamins and other stuff, along with dutasteride into the thinning areas of the scalp, hoping to stimulate hair growth. I mean, this doctor told me that injecting these stimulants directly into the body, rather than injecting them, where they're distributed throughout the entire body. If you just consume them through your mouth and everything, it makes all the difference when you locally inject them, right into the scalp, the balding areas of the scalp. That this would therefore stimulate hair growth. And I met with him. I discussed the procedure and everything, which I kind of liked, since it was non-invasive, it wouldn't cause permanent scarring. And he told me he told me that, there wouldn't be any, I could go out that night and there wouldn't be any signs that I had anything done. I mean, I never really got it done because, I just balked because, as you say, like there's so much information about misinformation, so much corruption going on in the hair loss industry that I just got very nervous, and I couldn't find a lot of other articles about this guy. So I got very nervous about it. And that
John Mayes?
Yeah, I don't care. His name was Alexander Kulik.
Yeah, there are a lot of guys that have been promoting mesotherapy for hair loss for quite a long time, and basically they are injecting hair loss agents, and in some cases, low dose anti-androgens, topical, or not topical, but formulated spironolactone, putting all this stuff, dutasteride, finasteride into these mesotherapy injections. I haven't seen a lot of positive results. And I would tell you that, there's a lot of guys that have gotten it done. It's a big thing for women with hair loss. And I would say that I'm not seeing it. I'm not saying that it's not out there, but at least what's being reported back, it just doesn't seem to be anything that has really a positive response. But I could be wrong. Maybe there's a doctor out there that's getting great results that I just don't know about.
Because, I mean, what's funny, like I said, after I met with this guy, I attempted to do research on the internet and everything, but I really couldn't find a lot of doctors doing this. So I mean, you're more educated in this than I am. So maybe
there's actually quite a few in Manhattan that are who are doing it, and there's a lot of guys out here in Los Angeles. Actually, I'm not going to mention the guy's name because I don't, I'm not a fan of mesotherapy, so I don't want to damage his reputation. But there's a guy here who's actually in hair restoration that utilizes mesotherapy in his practice, and I got to tell you, man, I think it's a waste of money and a waste of time. But
really,
I could be wrong. I mean, there could be guys out there that are getting results that are just not contacting us.
Okay, yeah, no, not a problem at all. Yeah. Okay, and before I forget, I meant to just get a few odds and ends questions. Do you know any good shampoo for thickening the hair to make it look fuller and thicker?
There's a very inexpensive over-the-counter, get in a drugstore shampoo called Fuller Thicker Hair, and I forgot the actual brand name, but it says Fuller Thicker Hair right on the front of the bottle, and that actually may be the brand or part of the brand, but it's a huge, it's a green bottle, and in big print it says Fuller Thicker Hair. They have shampoo and conditioner. That's a really good shampoo, and I also like Neutrogena clean volumizing shampoo.
Okay, that actually the funny thing was I went on the Bald Truth Talk, the forums, and I think I asked the same question. I think someone said Spencer recommends this, and I tried that. The thing with that is I noticed kind of a lot of hair fallout in the shower when I used it, because I have long hair, and that leads to my other question that I was gonna ask you too. I've been noticing hair in the shower, and hair on my bathroom floor and everything, and I think it's the result of split ends, because like I said, I have long hair.
How long is your hair?
Maybe a little past shoulder length, I would say,
Well, I mean, you're going to see a lot more. If you have long hair, you're going to see a lot more hair in the shower. You're going to see more hair on the floor. You're going to see more hair around your sink, just by virtue of it being more visible. And also, when your hair kind of, it naturally falls out when you shed your hair. When it's longer, sometimes it kind of stays in the hair. So if you're not brushing it, constantly, there's just going to be hair that's going to be stuck, that's going to be stuck in your hair. And eventually that's going to come on the floor. It's going to be in your butt when you take a shower. So, and I also don't think that shampooing a couple of times with a shampoo like Neutrogena's Clean Volume, probably I don't think it's going to exacerbate your hair loss. There's nothing that's medicated in that shampoo. It's not like it has, ketoconazole or anything in there. So, I don't think that it would. But you know what? If you're uncomfortable using it and you really think there's a correlation, then don't use it.
Well, actually, what I was going to tell you also, that I think that does help to volumize it. I don't use it during the week, like let's say after a workout or something. But like when I'm ready to go out at night or something, I'll shampoo with that like once or twice, and it's I think it does make a difference. So you said the other thing is, let me ask you, shampoo for split ends. That's another thing. That's what I meant to say. Do you know a good shampoo that would maybe like prevent split ends or something?
It's hard to prevent split ends, and again, I'm definitely not an expert when it comes to this end of hair loss, because it has nothing to do with hair loss. But usually, usually when you have split ends, you kind of have to cut off those ends, and use a lot of conditioner. But I don't think there's a shampoo that's out there that's really going to help your split ends. There's some shampoos that claim to. I know Pantene has a new product on the market that I've seen it advertised. I forgot the name of the shampoo, but they claim that it helps to prevent split ends and flyaways. But I don't know about that. I think you have to condition your hair.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I actually asked this on the forums too, and Tracy actually responded, who was very helpful, and she said about sulfate-free Aveeno, and I tried that. It's helped to a certain degree, but I still see some split ends. So I thought maybe you would know something better, but I
don't. My hair is short to the extent where I'm not going to see split ends anyway, and frankly, I don't care what the ends look like as long as it's on my head. So I don't really, on a personal note, I don't really pay much attention to that. And I would say that you should definitely maybe get the advice of a woman with long hair, and I guess. Tracy gave you that advice.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have time for me to read one more thing, or
I actually can you call back next week?
Okay. Yes, Spencer, not a problem. I want to say, lastly, we all want to thank you for what you do. I mean, I know some crazy people on the forum may say like bad things, but trust me, most of the people, including myself, love you for what you do. For giving us this forum, this safe place. And I mean, when you, I think you were, I know you were joking because I heard this forum when you said, "Oh, I may get out of this." Please don't ever do that. Please don't ever do that.
Well,
we really need you.
John, I appreciate. I appreciate that. I really do.
You'd be named as Spencer's producer. Of course, when I pass away, you could probably fill in for me, right, Spencer?
Yeah, well, he could just call in like you do. When do I ever talk to you, Joe? Do I ever? I hardly ever give you a call.
Yeah.
You never do.
That's right.
Not even on my birthday or Christmas or Hanukkah.
Oh, I forgot. First of all, I forgot when your birthday is, and I didn't realize you were Jewish.
Well, my aunt's Jewish. I'm part Jewish.
I think he's got to castigate you for not calling him.
Yeah, he already did. All right, guys, listen. I'm gonna call it a night. But
only 5 minutes.
Joe, man, I'm trying to get out of this thing.
Can I say one quick thing?
Yeah.
I think what this guy John, these very intelligent caller, is trying to say is people like me and him, we're desperate. We'd be guinea pigs for these doctors and check anything in which they want to. I think that's the point he's trying to make.
No, and I mean, Joe, what I always say, I mean, like it's just so amazing and incredibly frustrating to me that for as Spencer would say, quote unquote, a global epidemic of biblical proportions that so many people are suffering from, we have just such few and limited options to treat it. It's just so unconscionable in my eyes. We need better treatments, and like I said, I like the stem cell stuff that Dr. Greco's doing, and I mean, if more doctors would try it, so many people would jump on board. That's.
But you got Aderin, you got Allergen, you got Reposol, you got all these companies. Yeah, L'Oreal, all these companies.
I'm gonna cut you off, Joe. This is what I'm gonna. John,
Okay.
I'm gonna give you
Good
four.
boy.
I'm gonna give you 4 minutes to read what you wanted to read.
Oh, okay. Okay, damn, wow, not a problem. Oh, thanks. Okay. Okay. Where is this? Okay. No, I was going to say, too, I read articles all the time on the Internet about how people are traveling all over the world for stem cell therapies for incurable diseases, therapies that aren't offered in the U.S.,
Right.
For instance, I read about I think I read this to you before, but I'll read it again, maybe some people haven't heard it. I read about an American man who suffered from blindness since 2004, yet regained his vision through a stem cell treatment administered by a doctor in India. Let me see if I get this right. Dr. Himanshu Bansal of the Institute of Spinal Injury and Stem Cell Research in India. And it was reported that he went from not being able to see to actually being able to drive after the stem cell treatment, which used, I think, bone marrow and adipose stem
Now,
cells.
what did he have? Macular degeneration, or was he a younger guy with some other type of?
I forgot. I think he was like an old, maybe like early 60s or something.
Yeah.
So I got to look that up again. But I actually emailed this doctor, Dr. Bonsall, through his clinic's website about using stem cells to treat hair loss. And he actually responded by saying that bone marrow and adipose stem cells have great promise for hair regrowth and what he said, an 80% success rate. He emailed that to me. I think I forwarded you that email when I sent you like a whole encyclopedia of emails, like maybe.
I don't remember the email, but I remember you reading this to us before, and I found it fascinating.
Yeah. Okay.
And I still do.
Yeah. Okay. That's one thing. I'll go on to my next, if you don't mind me. Like, late last year, a scientist at Yale University named Valerie Horsley attributed hair loss to malfunctioning fat stem cells within the bald areas of a person's scalp. She described that as a person aged, the fat layer in a person's scalp that comprises its thickness shrinks, thereby stunting and inhibiting the growth of hair follicles. She also determined that when hair starts to grow, a process called adipogenesis occurs, where the fat layer of the person's scalp expands. And for this process of adipogenesis to occur, certain types of stem cells called adipocyte precursor stem cells need to be present, yet are diminished when in a person suffering from male pattern baldness. And I know of several clinics in the U.S. that are attempting to use these adipose stem cells to regrow hair. Some of them I'm skeptical of. Others I think are more legit. The most legit one that I found, I believe, is called the California Stem Cell Center. And I looked it up. It's like well-regarded doctors with solid credentials. I contacted them a few months ago, and they said before the end of the year they'll be trying to use these adipose stem cells to regrow hair. And I asked the doctor, are these the same? Do these contain the same adipocyte precursor stem cells, the one that Dr. Horsley identified as being integral for hair growth? And he said those are the exact stem cells we're going to use. So, I found that interesting, too.
I just looked them up, and they have a nice website. I'll tell you that. I have to take a look at the doctor's credentials, but it's definitely interesting.
Okay. So. Yeah. No. If you looked at, I thought they were like, very, very, very reputable, because there were others that I checked out.
I'm looking. It says currently studying asthma, orthopedics, cardiac disease, pulmonary disease, autoimmune diseases, urology, neurology, coming soon, hair restoration.
Okay.
Which is I don't know if you saw that on their website.
Okay, well, I could actually, I mean, if you want, I don't want to bombard you with emails, Spencer, but I could forward you the correspondence I had with.
Send it over. Send it over. I mean, these guys are in my backyard.
Very cool. Very cool. Maybe I'll even send you some obscure '80s metal if you wouldn't mind. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding with that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I wouldn't download anything, by the way. But no, I appreciate that, man. Hey, listen, okay, John, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure that you give me the time. Thank you.
Call anytime. And you know what? I appreciate the kind words. I really do. It means a lot.
No, you deserve it. I appreciate that. Joe, we love you. Nice talking to you as well.
I appreciate that, John. Remember to give your number to Spencer's producer, so when I pass away, you could fill in for me. I think Spencer would like that. Right, Spencer?
Yeah, he's always welcome. John is always welcome to call. No, first of all, no one can fill in for you, Joe.
No,
well, I appreciate that. But this guy is very long phone.
Joe, you're not passing away anytime soon, bro. That's for sure.
That's right. And listen, I'm gonna be off. I'm gonna be going fishing before you pass away. All right, Joe. All right, guys.
I can't discuss it.
All right, guys. Listen, I'm hanging up on John. John, I'll talk to you later. All right. Take care.
10 seconds.
Yeah, go ahead.
Please expand the ball of truth to 3 hours. We need you longer than 2 hours, man. We need you longer, man.
Jesus. You know what? You can extend the ball of truth in the chat room.
I do every Tuesday night.
All right.
The sufferers don't let me go.
All right, I'll make sure that Andrew replays this broadcast so that you guys can continue chatting, all right?
All right, Spencer. Will you be working the free-for-all on Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern
I'll be there.
Does that work?
Yeah. I'll be there hanging out with Andrew and hopefully Coco.
Okay. Can I invite to call in?
Yes, call in, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Just don't get Coco upset. That's all we ask.
No, me and Coco are friends, man.
Just don't get him upset. You don't want to get that guy upset. He gets upset easily.
No, since we met at Blog World, we've become very close friends. You know that.
All right, good. All right, guys. Joe, I'll talk to you later. I'm going to hang out, and I'll just pot you down. The websites, thebaldtruth.com, of course. Check out baldtruthtalk.com. And frankly, if you can't deal with a lot of bullshit, then just come back to the show because, I think, obviously, if you want to share, help people, learn from others with hair loss, and communicate with other hair loss sufferers during the week, 24/7, check out baldtruthtalk.com. But just always be aware of, there's a lot of bullshit on all the message forums. So just do your due diligence, take certain things with a grain of salt. But there's a lot of wonderful conversations happening on the forum as well. Again, thebaldtruth.com to check out archives of the broadcast. Check out AmericanHairLoss.org for the American Hair Loss Association. Until next time, be strong, God bless, and thank you all for hanging out. Talk to you later.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you. Good night.